We're going to talk about the KCIP program, of course, again, but we're also going to talk about the multi-streaming. So Cross to Crown here put out a tweet saying, people think I'm upset about being kicked from the kick streaming KCIP. And he said, I don't care. I'm mad about not just the lack of transparency, but no transparency from Kick about multi-streaming. I'm fighting for the guy that comes after me as a multi-streamer, making sure they know what they are getting themselves into. So this does have a couple different parts to it. Um, the first thing here is the first thing that Curiosity Kills says is when you join KCIP, Kickstaff specifically goes over it with you and make you individually read, go over the terms, and agree to the terms. So I don't know how the new members get accepted into KCIP, but I do know that they do receive an email or a document or something that kind of talks about every single thing that you're allowed and not allowed to do, including with multi-streaming. I do think that this was a bit of an issue, and I mentioned this before a long time ago. I've talked about this to prevent this from happening, but obviously we never really fully seen that. And that is that if we go to the Kick Creator Incentive Program on the Kick community website here, there is not a single mention that you are not allowed to multi-stream. Now, obviously, not being allowed to multi-stream makes sense. It is completely fine. That's all right. But I did say that this is going to be an issue. People are going to read this, not talk to people who are in the program, or not stay updated with the news. They're going to read all of this information here, grind for the KCIP program, get into it, and if they are a multi-streamer, they're going to get slammed with, hey, guess what? You can't multi-stream. You can only multi-stream to TikTok and Instagram Live and technically YouTube Shorts, which they don't even post in their documents. You can multi-stream to those, but there's some rules behind it. And you can't multi-stream to YouTube or Twitch or whatever as long as you're in the program, which again, it makes sense, but I mentioned this when this first came out. There's a giant lack of transparency here where people are going to read this, not have a single mention about multi-streaming. They're going to grind for it. Then they're going to get into it. And if they are a multi-streamer, they're going to be in a bit of trouble because now they have to completely switch their whole idea. And maybe that is the point, because if they grind for the program, if they see something in here that they don't like, because let's say they can't multi-stream, they might not grind for this, which means that won't benefit Kick. So it benefits Kick more if they don't tell you, have you grind, and then tell you that, hey, guess what? You can't multi-stream. I don't know if that's their plan. I don't know if that's their idea, but that really, I mentioned this the moment this literally came out. I mentioned that this was going to be a problem. And this is obviously not it's not going to be an extreme example of this, but it is something that ultimately is there, and I could see potentially getting a little bit worse in the future, for sure. I could definitely see it getting a little bit worse in the future, but for right now, it definitely, this is probably not the only time that this is going to happen. Will they change anything? Probably not. Probably not. But we are still. I agree. Thanks, Chris. We encourage multi-streaming, especially while we are still in beta. And this guy put out saying we are still in beta from the tweet 10 hours. That was the tweet from yesterday or the day before. I forget what one it is. And ultimately, this isn't an excuse. Still, you have to look at the context of it. Kick is paying you money to live stream on the platform. It doesn't make sense for them to pay you for other platforms that are competitors to them. That does make sense, but the information out there before you even start grinding for that is definitely lacking a good amount, for sure. So Yeah, I don't know. I thought I would throw that out there. I don't. It's not going to be anything insanely large where you're going to have Dexerto tweeting about it potentially, unless they're really bored and don't have anything else to post about. But I did mention this way early on, and well, we see one example of
Beta.
it. So I'm curious to see how many more examples we're going to have of it. Beta.